Hello and welcome to Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank, the official bank of your Chicago Fire. As always, we're at the Heineken Pub 97, right here at the Private Bank Fire Pitch. Fred Hubner along with Paul Tenorio, Frank Klopas. We've got some good things to talk about. We will also be joined by Dax McCarty in our third and fourth segments of the day, and he's always got something to say about the Red Bulls, and that's who the Chicago Fire had a chance to play this past Saturday. A 1-1 draw. That was nice to see.
It was good to see, yeah. I mean, in the end, I think it was good the way I think that the team came back. But I think, Fred, I think, Paul, I think when you play against a team like this, you have to know what to expect. I mean, it's a team that's not easy to play against just because of their style of play, the way they press, the way they're committed, they play high up the pitch. And then I think the Fire team knew that. So I think the intensity and the commitment and the state of play by both teams was there. I just felt like the execution, you saw a lot of turnovers, but that's going to happen when you play a team like that. At the end of the day, I'm more concerned, Paul, about the goal that the Fire gave up. That right. Moment with the loss of concentration and focus, and then they had to come from behind. That was, for me, one of the things that really stuck out.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it was the game became more difficult than it needed to be because anytime you play behind against the Red Bulls, you open yourself up to the transition attacking where they're capable of beating you if they can get in space. And I think obviously it was an unfortunate goal to give up. A little bit too easy, right? Too easy. I agree. And you at this point in the season, you don't want to be giving up those types of goals, especially at home. I agree with what you said, Frank. I thought it was a sloppy game early on. Yeah. Sloppier than I was expecting from two teams that usually are pretty sharp on the ball. But I think both teams came out with an understanding that this was a big game. Neither could really afford to drop big points to lose the game, certainly. And I think I know people have been holding on to a quote after the game where I think it was Michael DeLue or somebody said this was a win for us. But I think at the end of the day, what he was trying to say is, look, it was a decent performance. We came back from a deficit and got a point, and now we move on. I thought if it had been a loss, Frank, a lot more worrisome. And I think especially when you start looking at the Eastern Conference table, you can't afford to lose games at home right now.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
There's no doubt about it. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from the contest. An afternoon affair at Toyota Park. 3 o'clock contest as the guys came out for the match.
And this is the play. It's a corner kick. You go down, and this is where I think that, as the ball is played back, everyone is pushing out. And then now you have to hold your line and then kind of track runners. As the ball is played back, everyone's turning around and looking the ball go by them, and no one really tracks the runner. And Phillips, that's the one guy you don't want to have from that spot there.
No, you don't want to lose number 99. Luis Robles had some help from the woodwork. That was DeLue hitting the crossbar. Here's one going off the post. And then the header going by. Look at this. David Akam with a really nice free kick.
Great free kick. For me, Michael DeLue really wants this header back. Wide open net. Chance to tie the game and not able to do it.
Nice save of the punch out. Ball's always almost in midfield, but Kappelhoff drops it in the box, and there's DeLue. Great pass back to.
And it's a similar goal, no? We saw it's almost like a similar. The way they scored. The ball's back and then played back in the box, and everyone kind of gets caught ball watching, and DeLue makes a great play there, and it's great for Nikolic just to get on board here. I mean, he really needed this goal.
Yeah, nice to see him get back on. He now has 17 on the season. Chicago Fire also has some great chances here in the second half. Ball comes to Solinak. He gets stopped by Robles. There was another one coming up right after this. There you see again. He settles it. Robles there for the save. And a 1-1 draw. Another one that Lucho had another chance also on the other side of the box. And it was that close. The Fire were that close to victory.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you look at the game, the quality, if you look at quality, and, you have two very good teams. I think it was lacking, but it was because of the way both teams play and the way that the Red Bulls put pressure. I mean, the ideas that the Fire had were good. The ability to switch the point of attack because the space was there. The execution wasn't good. The ability when they won and not to hit them in transition a few times, it was on, but just the execution, they lacked execution. So it wasn't the prettiest of game, but then the clear chances for me, Paul, when you look at this game, the first half, the off the post with DeLue, the deflection, I mean, the really tricky play by Com, quick little restart, and then the second half, two great opportunities. You saw the one with Soliniak, and there was another one late in the match, I think, with McCarty plays on the ball and he shoots it wide. The opportunities were there. It wasn't the prettiest of a game, but it was great that the way they fought back.
Yeah, I would say my impressions watching the game, I never felt that the Red Bulls were so dangerous. It wasn't a game where I thought that the Fire were giving up a ton of opportunities. That being said, when you generate the chances that the Fire generated, you got to put them away. When you have open net headers, you got to put them on frame. Obviously unlucky to hit the bar and the post in the first half, but the 2 chances for Soliniak, those are chances where you'd like to see that finished and you get 3 points. That being said, I don't think it was the worst result in the world, and I do think there were some positives to take out of it. And for me, the positives I saw were the Fire willing to change a little bit how they were attacking a team in order to create better opportunities. We saw earlier in the year the insistence on trying to play possession-based soccer, keep the ball and build, and teams were sitting deep and they lost that kind of transition attack, and I thought we saw a little bit of the transition in this game.
I know the phrase is on frame, but unfortunately they put 2 on frame, and they need to put it just a little bit
Literally
inside
on
the
frame.
Yeah, just a little bit inside the frame. And the Chicago Fire will have that opportunity as they take on DC United coming up this Saturday out at Toyota Park. Go on out to Toyota Park this Saturday, 7:30, as the Fire take on DC United Hispanic Heritage Night presented by 7-Up. The first 5,000 fans in attendance receive a clear stadium bag giveaway courtesy of 7-Up. Tickets are available by visiting chicago-fire.com/tickets. We come back, we'll take a deeper look at what the Fire have, how they're playing now, and as they get ready for DC. You're watching Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank.
Our fans out here at Toyota Park have been fantastic the entire season.
Having a full Toyota Park means everything to the guys on the team. Your passion, your energy fuels us.
It's always easier when we fight together.
I can promise that every single guy on the field will do their best to win and not give up no matter what.
From the first minute until the end, thank you for your support.
We're at our best when you're behind us.
We want you back.
Heineken tastes perfect every single time, and that doesn't happen by accident. It takes 15 years to become a Heineken brewmaster, almost as long as it took me to master this look.
She came to meet a man. She found an angel. What's his name now?
Still practicing. It takes 15 years to become a Heineken brewmaster. There's more behind the star.
The heat will wear you out real quick. And we've been through some hot ones. It's very physical. You gotta take care of your body and stay hydrated because every moment matters. That's why I drink Advocare Hydrate. I've got a job to do.
Oh, honey, it's time.
To go back to Lowe's? Yeah, this Valspar paint and primer in one really freed up the afternoon. Hey, how do you feel about tackling the kitchen?
Ooh, not great.
Okay, well, maybe we could finish up the basement then. I always wanted to get a pool table down there. I'm a bit of a shark.
And your wife is very much a pregnant chameleon.
Oh, what about a bar?
John.
Go, that time.
Yeah.
Clean paint starts here. Save time with Valspar's paint and primer in one interior paints exclusively at Lowe's.
Welcome back in Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank, as we continue to take a look at the 1-1 draw this past weekend at Toyota Park against the New York Red Bulls. And guys, I know we talked about it a little bit in the first segment, but anytime you go down a goal and against the Red Bulls, not easy. And you saw the opportunities. The Fire went to the goal. They had a couple opportunities, and that's always a good thing to see after you go down.
Well, listen, for me, I never saw a team go down. The mentality was very good. But then also I see how the team came out the second half and what adjustments were made. The team came out very positive the second half. I mean, and you can just see the amount of 50-50 challenges they won. They were more aggressive. I think DeLu came more underneath defensively, made it more difficult on Felipe. They got the second goal. They created the opportunities. But I think where the execution came in, I think when they had the ball and the ideas now when to switch play, when to be more direct, I think that it wasn't there. The quality of passes, they didn't execute well. But then I think, Paul, late in the game, I think when you look from the 70-minute on, I think created situations more on themselves because they had the ball. They tried to play times out of the back. The Red Bull were very high up the field. They tried to be a little bit more direct, and they would lose the second balls, and then the pressure was on. They stayed more in that half. They were organized. The Red Bulls really didn't create much. They had a lot of the ball. It's just when they wanted the opportunity to go there, which was there, the execution wasn't what it needed it to be.
And I think there were some moments here where you see the absence of a guy like Bastian Schweinsteiger stand out. Because he is the player that kind of dictates the tempo from the middle of the field. A lot of times when the ball is switching, he's the guy that's creating those moments. And not just when the ball comes off of his foot, but sometimes just vocally how he directs players to get their heads up and look for the switch. And I think that's an area where I'm not sure the Fire have solved it yet. That spot, that's whoever's going to be higher up the field, whether it's Schweinsteiger, Dax, or somebody else. For me, that's where you're missing that person that in the final third especially is creating those opportunities and picking teams apart a little bit.
Well, the other thing that I saw, Paul, and we talked about it, you talk about similar runs. I think there was so much ingrained in what they talked about at halftime. Is like, oh, hey, they're going to press a little bit higher. When we win it, look to get behind them. And sometimes it's almost like that's the only thing you're looking to do, because I saw once they got the ball in the midfield, now whether it's Akam, Delu, Soliniak, Nikolic, they're all making similar runs, looking in depth. You needed someone not to, one goes to depth, one goes, one comes. The opportunity was there because the movement did stretch that back line. It's just, again, it's that execution, because sometimes it's like, the coach tells you something and then you're actually playing the exercise, not the game, right. Actually. So I think, the decision-making and the quality, and I agree with Paul 100%. A guy like Schweinsteiger there with his quality, his decision-making and the ability not to switch the point of attack, make those through passes, would have made a huge difference.
And that's to me is like one of those things where at this point in the season, you get a little bit frustrated probably if you're watching those runs, because these are guys that have played together all year and you want that chemistry to be there. And I thought earlier in the year, there was a point in time when Soliniak came into the starting lineup and he started to make those vertical runs, and he also started to be the guy that was checking into the pockets when Nikolic went vertical, and all of a sudden you saw the game open up a little bit because you're creating those spaces and those lanes to play the balls through, and that hasn't been there, that the partnerships. And it's not just Soliniak and Nikolic, or Nikolic and Akam, or Delu and Nikolic. It's all four people on the front line having to synchronize those movements and understand space better, and the Fire are starting to get a little bit closer, but it's just not there yet, and they need to find a way to rediscover that.
The positive thing for me also was both, the outside back. Having
Right,
Vincent,
I was gonna ask you that.
90 minutes, I thought he looked very composed. He really didn't panic. He made good, Polster getting there, I think still at times with him, he had good moments where he's beating the first player, and now he's got to get his head up. I think at times he's still running too much, but for them to get, another, 90 minutes under their belt and getting them back where they were, because they're two very important pieces for the team. I thought Campbell had another very solid performance. I think Myra's been training. If he's back in the focus, he brings a lot of experience. He reads the game very well, and he's a vocal leader in the back. I think, it's a huge piece getting him back, and then we'll see with Schweinsteiger,
It's got to be a big positive right now that they're getting healthy. I know there's still some question marks out there. I was out at training today. Schweinsteiger was working to the side. Juninho wasn't out there, and he's being evaluated for an injury. Those are two pretty big names.
Yeah.
But to get all three guys back on the back line always helps. And what it looks like is that this team is getting healthier right now. And that's an important piece going into this stretch of the final 6 games, the playoffs ahead. You want Schweinsteiger to be back and Juninho to be back and have everyone available. But to get that back line sorted, it's a much different team when Vincent and Polster are in there getting forward, combining and creating overloads.
Vincent played, that's not him, but
Right.
Nico gets the goal. For some reason he rubs off on him. I know, Michael Delu makes a super play there to find similar goals. I'm a little bit concerned about the goal, though. I think the lack of focus and concentration early in the game.
And the one they gave up.
Yes.
Okay.
You can't afford to do that late in the season. They got to clean those things up.
Real quickly, as a guy that scored goals for a living, what was it like for you think for Nico to finally get that? He'd gone almost 2 months without.
Man, you saw it. He just said, "Man, wash all the bad luck off me." It was huge.
Yeah.
You see the guy trying very hard, and then for once he got a great opportunity. He stayed with it, and where was he? Inside the box. I know it looked easy, but it's never easy, and it was great for him. It's a huge feeling.
We come back, we'll have a chance to talk a little bit more about the Chicago Fire and what happened this past weekend and how they get ready for DC United, as Dax McCarty will join us right here on the couch. You're watching Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank.
Go inside the lives of Chicago's biggest sports stars, only on Inside Look, presented by Cadillac. Your questions answered.
They got this big because basketball got this big.
Idols revisited.
They bring the atmosphere and the energy that you need throughout the grind of the season.
And the stories behind the headlines revealed.
I've realized so many reasons why I'm back home.
Catch a new interview every month with Inside Look on CSN. Visit csnchicago.com for listings.
Every 26 seconds, a child drops out of high school. 1 out of 3 are overweight or obese. With your help, we can improve those odds. Through grants and scholarships, the USTA Foundation supports a national network of programs that bring tennis and education together. A powerful combination helps under-resourced youth lead healthy and productive lives. Help us serve up dreams. Donate today. Please visit USTAFoundation.com.
No matter where you pop the question, James & Sons is where you get the ring. As a local, family-owned jeweler for over 50 years, James & Sons Fine Jewelers features exceptional engagement ring choices from Tacori, Hearts on Fire, and our own JNS collection. James & Sons features GIA certified diamonds and the best warranty in the business at no extra cost to you. James & Sons, where Chicagoland gets engaged in Chicago, Orland Park, and Cherville.
Mariah Haberman here from Discover Wisconsin. Join me and the rest of the DW crew every week on this station for all things Wisconsin. Find us on social media right now for gorgeous photos and great Wisconsin giveaways. Speaking of free stuff, did you know every month we give away an exciting vacation? This month you could win a prize package to Door County. Just visit discoverwisconsin.com for details. Saturday mornings at 10 on Comcast Sportsnet.
Welcome back in. Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank. Fred Hubner along with Paul Tenorio, Frank Lopez, and Dax McCarty, nice enough to join us here on the couch. We were talking about how big the 1-1 draw was with the New York Red Bulls, especially after giving up that early goal. How did it come from a team standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is that whenever you play a team as good as the Red Bulls, especially at what they do, you don't want to beat yourself. And by that, I mean you don't want to try to play beautiful soccer on a tough day when they're a team that thrives off of teams trying to get too cute and too pretty. I mean, I sat there for 2 years under Jesse Marsh and just listened to meeting after meeting after meeting of him just saying that we're going to feast off teams that try to play out of the back and try to play this beautiful, possession style soccer. And so for me, I knew what was coming, and every team that plays the Red Bulls needs to know what's coming. You're going to be in for a hard game. You're going to be in for a tough game. You're going to need to run, and you're going to need to battle, and you're going to need to win second balls. And if you can do that and win second balls in the midfield and then get after them with their team pressed high up the field, you're going to have success. And so it was never a day for putting together 500-600 passes, like I've said before. It was a day for being smart, not conceding much to them, making sure that you take care of Sasha and Bradley Wright Phillips, which we didn't, obviously, and then making sure that we took our opportunities when they came. And I thought, for the most part, we were disappointed with the result, but the performance was something that we can build off of.
I was going to say, they used to make 500-600 passes when Dax was with the Red Bulls. That's
Exactly.
all I used to see.
Exactly.
I don't see that anymore. But Dax, I felt the second half, whatever adjustments you guys made, and I know it's a difficult team to play with, but, I felt the mentality was good with the team, but also you guys upped the tempo, in the second half. What was the talk in the locker room and the game plan coming out the second half?
There's no question that we wanted to up the tempo in the second half. And I think that we did that. I think the talk in the locker room was that after we conceded the goal, we actually started to be a little bit more on top of the game. We started to press them a little bit higher up the field, and we started to get our line up. We were a little bit too deep in the first half, I thought. They had a little bit too much space for their midfielders to find gaps. And with all that being said, we weren't really giving them too much in the game. There wasn't many chances for them to be had. But in the second half, we wanted to have an aggressive mentality. We know that when we play at home, we want to win the game. So for my money, I mean, yeah, goal difference might come into play later, but I don't care if we lose 1-0 or 2 or 3-0 if we're really pushing the game and trying to go for the game. A loss is a loss. So we wanted to get after it. We wanted to score a goal and get back in the game. And once we did that, I thought our reaction again was great to go for the other one. I mean, Luis Robles makes an unbelievable save on Lucho Solignac. That could have been the game winner. We had another chance with him there where he put the ball wide. And so we were the team that was on top of the game for the most part, trying to create chances and win the game. Now, when you play against the Red Bulls, their fitness is unbelievable. It's very superior. So the last 10 minutes, we were holding on a little bit there for dear life, and kind of they were possessing the ball. But all in all, it's a performance that certainly with the adjustments that were made and the team that we're playing against, they're 4 points behind us in the playoff race. If you can't win the game, you definitely don't want to lose the game and let them make up ground on you. And so that was a positive.
When you know, one thing that stood out, I agree with you. I felt like you guys had the better chances in this game. Bradley Wright Phillips, very efficient. Of course, he gets a chance most of the time. He puts it in the net. But you guys came so close so many times. Does it feel like you're getting back to that team that's creating 5, 6, 7 chances in a game, and it's only maybe a 1 or 2 games away from now those 3 and 4 finishes come in like earlier in the year?
It does feel like that. And I think our fans and even our team, maybe earlier in the year, we were a little bit spoiled. I don't know what the percentages and the numbers are, but I felt like our efficiency of scoring chances to when we were getting them was just incredibly high. And I felt like every time we had a chance, we were bearing it, especially at home. And it was always going to kind of regress back to the mean, right? It was always going to kind of regress. You know, we were going to have a little bit of a rough patch. Nico went cold. We couldn't get him service. Teams adjusted to how we were playing. And they said, listen, we're not going to give you guys the space in behind us. We're going to press you high, see if we can pick you off, and then if you break our initial pressure, we're going to drop. And we're not going to give Lucho and David Akam and Nico space to run into for the midfield to give them passes where they can just have tap-ins. So teams adjusted to us. Then we had the Gold Cup break, and then it was incumbent upon us to readjust, and it took us a little bit too long to do that. So now I think you look at the Montreal game, you look at the Red Bull game, instead of us, you know, saying, okay, we're going to be the team that's able to play 500-600 passes and score goals at will, breaking teams down. We need to be able to try to have a balance between doing that and scoring the beautiful goals, but also, you know, being a little bit cynical at times and being able to play defensive and being able to win and grind out 1-0 games like we did against Montreal. That's going to be the key to our success later in the postseason.
You know, fans and media can look ahead to the postseason. They can look ahead to the playoffs and look at the schedule and everything else and the standings. Do you guys do that? I know I hear so many times from athletes, it's one game at a time. That's all we can look at.
No, I think that I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't take a peek at the scores every now and then and the standings and seeing what, you know, what the different scenarios are. But the truth of the matter is when you're young, maybe you look at that more and you say, well, if this team beats this team and if we win here and this team loses, then, you know, we'll be good. But the reality is, you know, none of that matters. The only thing that matters is your group and what you guys do. Right now, we are in control of our own destiny. You know, we're going to need, you know, we want a top 2 spot in the East. And, yeah, we struggled a bit the past 2 months, and we kind of lost our grasp on the top 2 spot. But now we look at NYCFC and we say, all right, you know, we're going to need some help from them. They're going to have to drop some games, and we're going to have to try to continue to get 3 points every time we step on the field. And then, of course, we have a big game against them coming up. But, yeah, it is, as cliche as it sounds, one game at a time is the way that you kind of have to look at it.
It was nice to have Dax McCarty back on the field. Nice to have him back from Honduras. We'll talk about the U.S. men's national team and more on the Chicago Fire when we come back. Don't forget, this coming Saturday, it is a 7:30 start. DC United comes to town. Hispanic Heritage Night presented by 7-Up. Come on out there, 7:30. Get your tickets, chicago-fire.com/tickets. If you can't get out there, catch Dan Kelly and the guys on the call beginning at 7 with the pregame 7:30 kick. You're watching Chicago Fire Weekly presented by the Private Bank.
The
blades of a combat chopper spin at 380 RPMs. Not even close to an Echo trimmer. Now that's shock and awe. Power on and on.
If you have recently suffered an injury or had surgery, let the experts at NovaCare Rehabilitation get you back to an active lifestyle. Our comprehensive programs deliver the highest level of physical therapy, hand therapy, sports medicine, and work health rehabilitation. Our highly skilled therapists develop individualized treatment plans to exceed your expectations. So, don't live in pain. To request an appointment today, visit NovaCare.com. NovaCare, the power of physical therapy.
Don't let pain knock you out of the ring. Our hand, wrist, and elbow experts are pioneers worldwide. You need us in your corner. Midwest Orthopedics at Rush. Make an appointment today. After our minimally invasive spine surgery, 80% of golfers maintained or improved their handicap. Be treated by the pros to play more like a pro. Midwest Orthopedics at Rush. Make an appointment today.
What's more powerful than the winds of a Cat 5 hurricane? An Echo backpack blower. So, yeah, it'll clear a path. Power on and on.
Welcome back in. Chicago Fire Weekly presented by the Private Bank. We are live at the Heineken Pub 97. Dax McCarty, nice enough to join us. Before we get into some U.S. men's national team talk, you've got D.C. United coming to town this Saturday. Now, how tough is it when a team, I mean, they're at the bottom of the standings. They don't have anything to lose. Can you tell that when a team gets out of the field, and can an early goal put them away for the game?
I mean, in some instances, yeah, it can. In other instances, no, it won't, because they don't have anything to lose. They're going to push even harder.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I don't look at where DC is in the standings and think, all right, we're going to win this game. I look at actually the past 5 games that DC's played, and they've actually been pretty good. And they've gotten back to what's made them a good team in the past, which is being solid defensively, grinding games out. They have 4 or 5 new signings who are all good players and are all going to help them tremendously in the future and now. They signed a national team player, Paul Arriola, and a couple other really good players. So for me, I don't look at this game and look at the standings and think, all right, you know, we automatically have this divine right to walk on the field and walk off with 3 points. It's going to be just as difficult of a game as the Red Bulls game and the Montreal game before that, because it doesn't matter where they are, it doesn't matter, you know, what they think their chances of making the playoffs are. There are no easy games in MLS. For everyone out there that thinks that MLS is easy, there are 0 easy games in MLS. It doesn't matter who you're playing.
Yeah, no, I mean, you took the question, because I was going to say this is like one of these trap games, you know, because, you know, Dax is right. You have a team that's playing for nothing, but they made positive changes. How important, Dax, is for players like you that have played in many of these games, you know, that to make sure that every day in training, and I'm sure the coaching staff is like, hey, we can't let down. This is not an easy game. This is literally when you say it's all about the next game.
Ben
it's all about the next
hoping
game.
you're walking on the field thinking you've got to win.
Absolutely. And you almost, when, you know, it's easy for players to get up for, you know, games against teams at the top of the table. It's easy to get up for games against Toronto FC, NYCFC, the Red Bulls, all those teams. It's easy. You don't have to motivate player. I mean, a team like DC, who is at the bottom of the standings, you know, some guys may look at that and have a poor mentality about it. It's almost doubly important that coaches harp on the positive things in training. We need to come out, have a good start. We need to be mentally sharp. We need to be focused on doing things on the field that make us a good team, and even more so against a team like DC United. So for me, training the past 2 days have been fantastic. You know, the mood in the locker room ever since, you know, we got the away win in Montreal, and ever since we, you know, got the draw against the Red Bulls, the mood's been great. And we realize that we've let the season slip a little bit, and we haven't, you know, our standards have slipped, and we haven't held ourselves to that incredibly high standard that we set for ourselves in the beginning of the season. We've gone through a lull. I actually think now, as we get closer towards the playoffs, going through that rough patch will help us, and beating a team like DC is essential if you want to be a good team.
Well, Dax, I'm going to switch topics a little bit. A lot of people are looking at the U.S. men's national team, and they're getting a little sweaty. They're getting a little nervous. 2 games left, 2 wins needed to book an automatic spot to the World Cup. Haven't been in a situation like this since Paul Caligiuri's goal back in 1989, needing a win on the final day. I'll go to the most controversial thing. Alexi Lalas went on air and called out the U.S. national team, some of the big players, Michael Bradley, Josie, Christian Pulisic, Bruce Arena. Your thoughts on Alexi's comments, and then your thoughts on where this team stands and what you have to do to make sure you're in Russia next summer.
Yeah, the first thing I'll say is about where our team stands and the fact that, we're under no illusions that, we've made it difficult on ourselves. There's no question about it. We have, I think every guy on the field would admit that we haven't played up to the standard that we set for ourselves. And the one thing that personally for me that I can say is having a guy that, I haven't actually stepped on the field for the qualifiers, but having been on the bench, having been down in those, foreign countries, having been in the stadiums, having been in the atmosphere, seeing the fields and seeing the conditions, it is, I was a guy that used to watch national team play on the road in CONCACAF, and I used to get pissed, and I used to say, well, why are they not playing well, or why are we not beating this team 5-0? And when you actually are there and you're in it, you start to realize this is a lot harder coming down here and actually doing it than it is just watching it on TV. And there's a ton of reasons for that, but I think everyone can understand that a few of the reasons are, the conditions are difficult, and you have to go down there with a great mentality. You have to start well, all that stuff. But the second reason is that teams in CONCACAF have gotten a lot better. And no matter what anybody says, yes, the U.S. is a nation of hundreds of millions of people, and all these other CONCACAF nations are tiny and small. I mean, the truth of the matter is that we are continuing to grow as a soccer nation. We're trying to continue to get better and better. And those other countries are doing the exact same thing. They're continuing to get better. There's better coaching. They have players playing in MLS that are very dangerous and good players. So I think the level of our team is going to continue to rise, but this supposed gap in between us and Mexico and the rest of CONCACAF, I don't think it's quite as big as people are making it out to be. So there are no easy games. Just like in MLS, there are no easy games. In CONCACAF, there are no easy games. Now, with what Alexi said, I mean, I think everyone saw it, and it's, it's funny because as athletes, we are not immune to criticism. We actually, I embrace it. Some guys, some guys might not like it. Some guys may get pissed off about it. I embrace it. I love it because you wouldn't be in this business if you were sensitive and you didn't like being criticized. And for me, I take the good with the bad. Whenever I have a great game and people are praising me, I say, all right, thank you, I appreciate it. Whenever people are crushing me and our team, I just say, fair enough. That's fine. This is what we get paid to do. As far as what Alexi said is, I think as an analyst, as a soccer analyst, your number one job is to give the viewers your impressions on what's happening on the field and why things are going really well or why things are going poorly. And for me, I don't know if this is just what Alexi's bosses tell him to do, but I think they legitimately just tell him, cause a stir, create a controversy, do something crazy that people will be talking about. They could really care less if Alexi was the guy that was going to go, well, yeah, we can all see the U.S. hasn't been poor, but this is what Pulisic can do better. This is what Josie can do better. This is what Michael can do better. This is what they need to do better. And sure, I mean, we all could use extra motivation in everything that we do, but at the end of the day, I saw what Greg Vanney said, and I completely agree with it. 100% fair criticism, no problem. Tell the viewers what we can do better. We know we keep that in house as a group. We know how much better we have to play against Panama coming up. But at the end of the day, I think Alexi got exactly what he wanted out of it. He got people talking about it, and he got responses from everyone. So we know that whatever happens in the team, we're going to keep it in the team, and we don't really worry about the outside noise that's happening. But it was funny. I got a good laugh out of it.
Dax, best of luck this coming Saturday, and also against Panama and also Trinidad and Tobago.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
The point for the battle of the U.S. national team genders goes to Dax.
Man, we need like 6 segments here to talk about this.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. We come back, we'll take a closer look at what the Fire need to do this coming weekend when they take on DC United. You're watching Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank.
Oh, you brought Butch.
Yeah.
He's looking at me right now, isn't he?
Yep.
Butch is like an old soul that just hates my guts.
You can never have too many faithful companions.
Introducing the all-new Crosstrek. Love is out there. Find it in a Subaru Crosstrek.
Water pooling. Window wells overflowing. Concrete sinking. Aging sump pumps. The perfect recipe for a wet basement. We've protected thousands of homes all over Chicagoland and can give you the comfort of a dry basement. Schedule your free consultation today at uswaterproofing.com. US Waterproofing. A better basement starts with us.
Here, in this league, we're not okay with strong. We go stronger. We don't settle for fast. We go faster. We don't want next. We want next level. Here, we go all out. Because we're all in. This is our league. And here, we don't go for good. We go for great.
My name's Sonia Walker, and I'm the co-founder of Nutfreeze Bakery. Nutfreeze is a family-owned and operated business specializing in sweet and delicious peanut and tree nut-free baked goods. We are a small business, and we moved to Elk Grove Village 6 months ago. It's been incredible. We're centrally located and helps our growing company deliver nut-free baked goods all over the Midwest. We work hard for our customers, and we know that Elk Grove Village works hard for us.
Welcome back in. Time for Fire Field Vision, powered by NovaCare. The Chicago Fire get ready to take on DC United this coming Saturday, 7:30 at Toyota Park. And guys, after a win in Montreal and a 1-1 draw, this is a game where you need 3 points. It's getting late in the season, only 6 games remaining. You need to get out there. Home field, you need to get the 3 points.
Definitely. But, you know, the one thing, and we talked to Dax, is that you have to expect a difficult match. That's the thing. You know what you're going to get from DC. They've made some changes to their roster. They're going to be hardworking. They're going to be organized. They're going to be committed all the way to the end. Having said that, they're still a team that they give up a lot of goals. I mean, it's, 46 goals against. I think the third bottom in the league with that. I think there's issues centrally, Paul, with Sarvas, and I know they brought the new player, Canus, but I still feel that in transition, when you can attack the out wide, and then you have those late runs from the midfield. They're not easy to track, whether it's dealing with crosses in the box with Birnbaum and Opari. I think they've given up a lot of goals, but also for balls out wide that you can cut back and have late runs from centrally. It's very difficult. Sarvas is a little bit older. He still brings a lot of energy, but a lot of times he's all over the field and leaves Canus by himself with a lot of space to cover. So the opportunities will be there, whether it's centrally or out wide for the Fire to overload those wide areas and then just put some dangerous balls in the box.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this DC United team, and obviously they made a lot of changes, but I still think there are areas for the Fire to attack, and you hit on one of them, and for me, that's getting up the wing and causing problems for their fullbacks. DC United's rotated a lot of different guys in right back and at left back. I think Nick DeLeon is back there now. They got Sean Franklin back out there now. We know he's lost a step. I like Sean Franklin against David Accam as a matchup. I like it even more when Brandon Vincent is getting forward and overlapping. I think on the other side, you'll take Matt Polster and Solignac up against Nick DeLeon, who's a natural midfielder who is trying to play left back now after playing right back at certain points in his career. So I think absolutely you're going to look for quick transitions out on the wings, working up the sideline, and then, yes, that late run through midfield has to be there because Sarvas gets lost because he's constantly running, but he runs sometimes without a purpose. And I think Canus is still getting a feel for where he should be. I think he was brought in to be the guy who is on the ball a little bit more, who pairs with the Sarvas type, but he hasn't really fit into that role quite yet. And I think that late run through the midfield is a space where somebody like if Bashan's playing or Juni with that long distance shot is going to have a chance. But whoever plays underneath there will have some opportunities.
Yeah, and we could just see the success that the Fire had in their first match. I think that, because of the outside backs, I mean, if it's Franklin on one side or De Leon on the other, or if it's Korb like in his first match, they do push forward a lot. So the opportunity on the break for the players, whether to make those runs in the channels or for those overlapping runs. And then I think the center backs have had a difficult time, Paul, just dealing with crosses. Even in the last game against Orlando, anytime they got out wide with service in the box, they both get caught kind of ball watching, especially when you play those early balls behind them, and now they got to turn in a way where you got to see the ball coming in, but you lose track of your guys. I think they've given up a lot of goals, and it shows. I mean, 46 goals against, that's a lot of goals. They do give up a lot of opportunities, and this is a team, that the Fire team right now, they have a lot of weapons that can hurt you. Nikolic scored, but, Delu has gotten some good spots. Solnick has gotten some good spots. And then Schweinsteiger, the first match, if he comes back and play in this match, was a guy that had a big influence with Dax in the midfield, especially once they won that ball and to be the ability to play the first ball out of pressure and go forward and hurt them in the areas where they left space occupied. And then, following with those late runs like we talked about centrally, the opportunities will be there. This is the game that the Fire have to win.
And look, you brought it up with the center backs. I mean, Steve Birnbaum was very good last year. He's regressed this year. Opari's come in and done a decent job. He is what he is. And I think they're big guys, so you wouldn't think that they'd be susceptible at center back. But they're big guys who don't necessarily move very well. And Frank, as a striker who can poach in the box, sometimes as a forward who thrives on movement in the box, you like big center backs, because you can do that quick little step to the near post and then peel off the back shoulder, and they have a harder time reopening their hips and moving with you. There are some moments I think they're going to be there for Nikolic to make a little run for the center back and then a run for himself to get into that space. So service into the box is key, and I don't necessarily mean service in the air. It might be service coming across on the ground for one-touch finishing. And Dax touched on this. We've touched on this. Efficiency in front of goal is going to be very important in this game. Bill Hamid is one of those goalkeepers on a good day. He can keep DC United in any game. You have to be efficient in front of goal. If you have a good opportunity, put it in the net.
How do you see, Michael Delu has a yellow card accumulation. He will not be playing in the game this coming Saturday. Who do you see filling in? Do you see Solinek starting? You see maybe Alvarez come in and start?
I mean, I think in a game like this, because I think the Fire are going to have a lot of the ball, I think maybe DC United is going to be a team that's going to sit a little bit back and then see if they can counter on them. I think I like Arturo's game because he has the ability to beat guys off the dribble. He's very smart at combining. He's got an unbelievable shot. He changes up his game, and he makes it very unpredictable to really mark, And I feel that he brings that quality in the final third that's been missing a little bit.
And I think there's two things about Arturo's game that are strengths of his that fit really well against this DC United team. He loves, when he's playing on the right, to come inside to his left foot, and he plays a really nice curling ball into the box that drops onto players' feet. I think that's a type of ball that would be really effective against this DC United backline. In addition, when he cuts in, that causes problems for that fullback. They have to make a choice. Do I go with them or do I stay in this space? Because Matt Polster can overlap into the space that Arturo leaves, and now you have that 2-on-1 where it's either you're worried about the in-swinging ball from Alvarez or he's playing it out to Polster for the ball coming in from the outside.
And he does a very good job joining in late on crosses. That's very hard to mark, those diagonal runs that could be very effective.
That's a look at Fire Field Vision powered by NovaCare. We come back, a chance to look at DC United as they come to Toyota Park this coming Saturday, 7:30. If you can't get out there, you can catch it on CSN Plus, 7 o'clock pregame, but it is Hispanic Heritage Night presented by 7-Up. The first 5,000 fans in attendance will receive a clear stadium bag giveaway courtesy of 7-Up. Tickets available chicago-fire.com/tickets. You're watching Chicago Fire Weekly presented by the Private Bank.
We don't give up. We don't quit. We keep going. Day in, day out. We fight on. Why? Because we are champions. Be a champion.
Oh, honey, it's time.
To go back to Lowe's? Yeah, this Valspar paint and primer in one really freed up the afternoon. Hey, how do you feel about tackling the kitchen?
Ooh, Not great.
Okay, well, maybe we could finish up the basement then. I always wanted to get a pool table down there. I'm a bit of a shark.
And your wife is very much a pregnant chameleon.
Oh, what about a bar?
John.
Go, that time.
Yeah.
Clean paint starts here. Save time with Valspar's Paint and Primer in One interior paints, exclusively at Lowe's.
Our fans out here at Toyota Park have been fantastic the entire season.
Having a full Toyota Park means everything to the guys on the team. Your passion, your energy fuels us.
It's always easier when we fight together.
I can promise that every single guy on the field will do their best to win and not give up no matter what.
From the first minute until the end, thank you for your support.
We're at our best when you're behind us.
We want you back.
NovaCare is the right choice for all athletes. As the exclusive provider of physical therapy to the Chicago Fire, we know the importance of keeping you active. Our sports medicine program, along with our movement assessments, aids us in finding your weak link and designing a program for you. We offer a full array of home care products so you can continue your care when you're not here. To request an appointment at any of our convenient Chicago locations, visit NovaCare.com today. NovaCare, the power of physical therapy.
Welcome back to Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank. It is time for the Valspar Primer. Valspar, the official paint of your Chicago Fire. DC United, they find themselves in the bottom of the standings in the Eastern Conference, just 28 points after 28 games. They will be at Toyota Park. And guys, you mentioned it, Frank, the number of goals they've allowed, despite the fact, and you brought it up last segment, despite the fact that Bill Hamid's in goal. When we had Dax McCarty here earlier, he talked about Luis Robles and the saves he made. You can never tell what kind of saves Bill Hamid's going to pull out.
No. I mean, can you imagine if he wasn't in the goal, Paul?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Actually,
breaking.
If you go look at the 5 or 6 games where Hamid was out with injury, it wasn't pretty. They had Travis Wara come in, and there were a lot of goals scored in that 5-game period without Bill Hamid. He is a guy, and by the way, this is a guy who's coming out of contract at the end of the year. DC United's trying to lock him up to a long-term deal, but he could leave to Europe, and I'd be interested to see the decision-making that goes into that for Bill Hamid ahead of a World Cup year. Do you go to Europe? Right now, the goalkeeping position for the U.S. national team is kind of up in the air. If he goes to the right team in Europe and plays right away, he has a chance to break in and be a guy that can factor in the World Cup.
The thing with him, he could be unbelievable, but he needs to be more consistent. That's the thing. If you're going to play at that level, that's the one, knock that I have on him. But you're right, it is a big year. So when you start with this team, let's start front to back. So you look at him, and a goalkeeper of his quality, you're always in a game with him. I think, both outside backs, Paul, I mean, they're going to look to get forward. De Leon and Franklin, they got good engines. I mean, Franklin not as technical, but he's got pace. At times, if he gets in the right spot, he can whip in a good ball. De Leon, he's more of a guy that's going to look to combine. Canus is going to sit more with this team. Sarvis is a guy that's all over the field. He brings that energy. Acosta, for me, though, in the final third, he's the one guy that brings, some quality. I mean, he can combine. He's very clever. He can make that final pass. He can score some goals. They got pace with Ariola. The young guy, Stieber, is a left-footed guy. Got to see more. And it depends on top. Is it Mullins or Brown? If it's Brown, I mean, he's very fast. They'll be very dangerous in transition, especially with him, Ariola now out there. If it's Mullins, he's more of a back-to-goal there that, in the end of the day, they don't score a lot of goals. I mean, it's 23 goals, lowest in the league. That's the question. Where are the goals going to come from them?
That's been the issue for DC all season long, and that's the question they have to figure out here at the end of the year. They gave Patrick Mullins a new contract at the end of last season that didn't kick in until next year. And they need to find out if he can be that goal scorer. I think this team is more dangerous when Deshaun Brown is on the field because of his pace. He can always run in behind, and as a back line, you have to respect that, especially with Paul Ariola on the outside now. Stieber, he's clever. He's not the quickest guy in the world, but he's a clever player. Good left foot. And when they bring Lloyd Sam on, at that point in time, 60th minute, 70th minute, you've got Lloyd Sam, Ariola, and Deshaun Brown running at you with pace. I think that's the reason Ben Olsen's been bringing Brown and Sam off the bench late in games, really challenging teams by bringing that kind of speed on. But I'd be interested to see what this DC United team does moving forward. Do we see Sarvis out there? Do we see them bring, an Ian Harks back? You start to see, or at right back, Chris Adoyacham, a young defender who played at Maryland. Does he get the start at right back instead of Franklin? Do they start to look at some of these younger pieces? That's not Ben Olsen's style. He likes to win games and he likes his tough veterans. but they're trying to generate some excitement ahead of the stadium. It's hard for me to see DC United always up and down. One good year, one bad year. They never spend money.
Why is it hard for you?
Listen, I'm from DC, and I grew up with teams that were the best teams in Major League Soccer. You know, maybe should have been the champion in 1998.
Here we go again. We need a whole new segment about this. Don't even mention 98 because the best team won the double in 98.
All I'm trying to say is they were a great team, and I'm excited that DC gets an open stadium next year, but they've got some growing to do and quickly, and I think Dave Casper does a good job, but he's got some work to do in January.
The one thing I still want to say is set pieces, they're dangerous, especially with Birnbaum and Opara. They have some guys I think that can also hurt you. You got to be aware of situations like that.
When we come back, a lot of things going on in Major League Soccer. We will talk about that. And also, hey, FIFA 18's coming out soon. Where was the highest-ranked Chicago Fire player? We'll talk about that when we come back. Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank.
Go inside the lives of Chicago's biggest sports stars, only on Inside Look, presented by Cadillac. Your questions answered.
They got this big because basketball got this big.
Idols revisited.
They bring the atmosphere and the energy that you need throughout the grind of the season.
And the stories behind the headlines revealed.
I realized so many reasons why I'm back home.
Catch a new interview every month with Inside Look on CSN. Visit csnchicago.com for listings.
You have a vision. It's behind everything you do. Even when you least expect it, it comes through. You know what you want, and we can help make it real. You need choices? We've got all kinds, including special finishes and papers. And they're all absolutely guaranteed. Because you have a vision, and we have your card. 500 start at just $9.99 when you enter BC500 at Vistaprint.com.
At Discount Tire, we know how hard it is to stay fit. You might pump iron like a pro or even do push-ups with perfect form. Question is, are your tires healthy too? Don't sweat it. Visit your local Discount Tire for a tire health checkup. And if you need them, you can count on us to help you get the right tire for your needs and your budget. Discount Tire, America's neighborhood tire store.
Take a good look at yourself. Oh, yeah. Check that smooth backside. No, really, check it. If you're a man over 50, you're in the group most likely to develop skin cancer, including melanoma. When detected early, skin cancer is highly treatable. Check yourself out and find someone else to help. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
Welcome back in. Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank. A lot of the youngsters out there and a lot of the players, heck, they can't wait for FIFA 18 to come out. And the top MLS players, no surprise, Giovinco, number 1, David Villa, number 2, and Bastian Schweinsteiger, number 3, when it comes to ratings.
I'm just thrilled that you called me a youngin, because I'm looking forward to FIFA 18, and I'm feeling younger now.
Yeah. Why not? Well, let's take a look around in the league, and we're sitting here, our phones keep blowing up because Atlanta is playing today. They had a 3-0 win. They opened up their stadium, actually the Atlanta Falcons Stadium, and Atlanta FC, but Mercedes-Benz Stadium, 45,314 the other day. They've sold out today, which is a midweek game against New England.
And the fans are getting a treat. It's 3-0 here in the first half. Joseph Martinez with a hat trick. This Atlanta team, to me, is a legitimate threat to win MLS Cup as an expansion team. No one's done it since that 98 Fire team we were talking about last segment. I think this Atlanta team has the talent to do it when Joseph Martinez is healthy. This guy has 13 goals and has played like 12 games this season. It's unbelievable.
I agree with you. With Martinez fit and the way they're playing, and obviously with the new stadium there. I mean, it's amazing. I talked to a friend of mine that's there, Aaron Hyde, used to work here. Mm-hmm. He said it's so big. I think it's actually the biggest field dimensions. It's wider.
Which is good for these guys, right?
With the pace that they have, with Almiron, the attacking players that they have. But also I feel like, in the end of the day, getting Brad Guzan there, I think for me, a guy that, because, look, I mean, they have some veterans that have been in situation, MLS guys. I think that Almiron and these guys are young into the league, but to have an experienced guy in the back, I think we talk about the goalkeepers and how important they are in crucial moments. These guys can win games on their own, and this guy, Guzan, has a lot of experience, and it's someone that can lift him over the top in situations and can win games on his own.
They're setting standards in many different ways in the league with their training facility, with the transfer fees they're paying for players. And on Saturday against Orlando, they're opening up the entire stadium, and they expect to set an MLS record with 75,000 people in that stadium. So I think everyone's going to be playing catch-up with an expansion team here.
Yeah,
Pretty
well,
crazy.
They have 39 points before the game today, so you figure that's 42 after 26 games. They still have 2 games in hand on the Chicago Fire, so expect them to be moving up in the standings. The other team that they actually knocked off, what's happened to FC Dallas?
A lot. I think it goes back to last year. You transfer Fabian Castillo out, and talking to some coaches who played against this Dallas team, they felt like, look, you bring in Barrios, he's a good player, but Castillo was a game-changing player. He could do things on his own in ways that Barrios just can't, and I think they lose him, that hurts. They lose Mauro Diaz to an injury. He's never really been the same, even coming back this year. He hasn't quite gotten back to that level, and they've had a drop-off. Defensively, I think that's where they really struggled during these last 7 or 8 games. I thought it was a huge, huge missed opportunity for FC Dallas to live up to their reputation as a team that is based on academies and based on selling players. To turn down $5 million for Maxi Urruti and Barrios, 2 players who are good players, but that's a healthy chunk of change. From what I understand, the ownership stepped in and turned down those offers to go back down to Argentina. I thought that was a huge mistake for a team that's struggling this year. It's going to hurt them, I think, long term. But they've got to figure something out there.
And we don't have a lot of time for this, but you had an article about the development of young players in Major League Soccer, and that's basically what the league has been trying to do for a long time, maybe not trying as hard as you like.
I just want to see more, and I think I was kind of like an internal battle with myself, Frank. I talk to you about this all the time. I want to see more faster. I know it's going to take time. Academies have only been around for 10 years. That's nothing. These players, a lot of these young players aren't ready yet. They're not good enough yet. It takes time. And I understand that. I get that, but I'm still frustrated because I want it to happen faster. But, you know, it's just sometimes these kids just need time.
Yeah, and you see certain situations are different. We've seen the opportunities that Georgi Mihailovic has gotten here in some difficult moments. And I think you can see in situations that the talent that he has, but he's not up to the level where, you know, you can see that he could be maybe 1 or 2 years. But he's gotten opportunities. And I think in the right environment that he's at, he continues to develop and learn. That's a young player for me. I mean, when you're talking 22, 23, that's not a young player for me anymore.
No. 18,
guys like
19,
Mihailovic,
17.
18, 17, 18, the opportunities, and I think George is one of the guys that's going to have a big future here and a great career.
And it takes that mentality to risk putting a kid in a big moment and seeing what you get. You learn something, they learn something.
Yeah. We were actually just happy to have Paul here because he celebrated his anniversary just yesterday. 2 years.
He kept it a
secret.
He kept it a secret, and I finally called him. He didn't want to answer his phone, and he was planning. I don't know what he was planning for, but he's got to be the luckiest person in the world. And the only great thing about Nikki, you haven't met her, is that besides she's a wonderful human being, and he's so lucky to have her, she's from Chicago, and now he really gets to root for the best team and organization, not DC United that he's been telling me about.
There's a reason why I'm even here right now in Chicago. It's because of Nikki, and I am very lucky. As Frank tells me all the time, she lets me do whatever I want, and it's been great for my career. So happy anniversary. She's going to be mad at me for that.
I'm sure she will. That's the wives always get mad. That's what happens. You've only had 2 years in. Wait a while. Chicago Fire Weekly. Don't forget the Fire taking on DC United this coming Saturday, a 7:30 start at Toyota Park. The Fire looking for 3 big points. You can catch the game on CSN Plus beginning at 7 o'clock with the pregame, 7:30 the kick. Thanks for watching Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank, the official bank of your Chicago Fire.